Ears, our director of all of our travel coordinators, and also of our customers' experience.
Yes, and Ryan is a huge asset to the team. She is a know-it-all when it comes to all things pet travel related, so we're really happy to have her on board to help answer any of your timeline related questions. All right, so some updates for today's live Q&A. We will be having, let me just get to the right slideshow here. Sorry, bear with me one moment. So we will be having some giveaways today, including a Starwood Pet Travel pet bandana. So deck your cat or dog out in some Starwood swag. Feel free to wear it yourself if you want. We will also be giving away a $20 Amazon gift card, as well as $200 off of a Starwood booking. And the rules are simple to enter. Ask a question in the chat. We are live streaming to YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook simultaneously. So if you do not see a question in the chat today, it's because they're likely joining from another channel. But to enter, ask a question in the chat, follow Starwood Pet Travel on any of our social media channels, and then we will be dropping a form in the chat here shortly so you can enter to win. And that way we can notify you after the event as well. Okay, so a little bit about Starwood and why they trust us for their pet travel specifically. We've been in the industry for over 40 years, helping over 10,000 pets move globally. You can see some of our happy customers on the left side there uh, with pet travel to Portugal and Italy. So there's a lot of destinations we service, and we'll certainly go over that a little bit later in this live Q&A. As part of your travel package with Starwood, I think Ryan could probably speak a little bit more to this. You submit your quote. We typically send you a quote right away so you can review that, the pricing, the different sort of options that you want to have for your pet, such as care tags, which is a real-time tracking device to help you stay informed during your pet's move. We also offer door-to-door delivery and pickup. Ryan, anything you want to share there?
Yeah, I think we just have a very tailored service. You can add on services a la carte, but I think the biggest value is that you have a dedicated travel coordinator who is going to be with you every step of the way. We're not actually on the flights with your pets. That's kind of a something people get a little confused on, but we are there with you via email. We're there with you on the phone. We have drivers on the ground with your pets. So it's a uh, very important service that everyone on our team provides. We have a dedicated documents team, which is very important too, as well as operations that does all of our bookings and logistics. So we're one big team, but you really just deal with one person after you speak to our sales team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the kind of customized support that is really helpful, especially when you're moving a family member around the world.
Yep.
We also recently launched a pet travel timeline on our website. So we're really hoping this could be a useful tool for some folks that want quick answers into how long it takes to transport a pet based specifically on your destination and your tentative move date. So from submitting a quote to getting onboarded into our system, document handling, and more. And we can actually test this out in real time. So if you have a destination in mind, as well as a ideal travel date, feel free to drop that in the chat and we can show you.
Yep.
And if not, that's okay too. In this example we provided here, this particular customer was moving from the United States to the United Kingdom with a tentative move date of October 30th of this year. I will express that different destinations have different timelines. I think the UK is a little bit less complex than, say, Australia or New Zealand. So, Ryan, anything you want to share about specifics about moving to the UK? We did use this example just because it is one of our most frequented locations.
Yeah, definitely. And this kind of came up this week with a client. Um, as a background, to get to the UK, pets need to be microchipped and then have a rabies done sometime after the microchip. Rabies needs to be done within a year of travel. So if your pet does have a 3-year rabies, as long as it's within that 1 year of travel, it shouldn't be an issue. But some rabies vaccinations have a waiting period of 21 days. Other rabies vaccinations have a waiting period of 28 days. So for the UK specifically, you just need to keep that in mind. And our documents team can advise your vet what the best manufacturer and brand to use to stick with the shorter period. So the 21-day waiting period after rabies rather than a 28-day waiting period. We usually ask for about 6 weeks lead times to do UK. We've certainly done them a lot quicker, but we just want to make sure we're not in a rush pattern. So we want to make sure your pet has time to acclimate to the kennel. We have time to thoroughly review all your documents, and that we have time to get a flight that you want.
Absolutely. So we are going to share another real-time example of how this timeline tool works. So US to Australia, say one dog with a tentative move date of February 14th. Oh, Valentine's Day. Okay, I like that. 2027. So let's hop down to Valentine's Day next year. I should mention that if your tentative move date does not does not provide enough time based on your destination, there will be a pop-up that appears saying, we recommend X amount of time based on your destination and your move day, just because certain timelines take a bit longer. But as you can see in this actual demo, there's more than just document handling. There's booking requests as well as finalizing your move. So this gives you a pretty high-level overview of what goes into your specific destination based on your ideal move date. So pretty cool. If you want to test it out, we'll also drop that link in the chat too.
And just to add on for countries like Australia, the 7 months, 7 to 8 months is probably the minimum lead time because there's a built-in 6 month wait in there. That's after the blood testing. So if you're coming to us and haven't, done the microchipping or the rabies, you'd want to plan closer to the 8 to year timeline. If you've already done the blood work, then it's kind of a different story. But just wanted to point out for some countries like Australia, Japan, there's a 6 month waiting time after blood work is done.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are going to get into the live Q&A soon, I swear. Just wanted to kind of help you all brainstorm about some of the frequently asked questions regarding pet travel timelines. So a lot of what we hear is, how far in advance should we start planning? So hopefully that timeline tool that we are going to share in the chat will help you, start to frame out like what you need to do and when. Also, timing around move and life event. Timing your move around life events is also really important. So, some of us have kids that are in school and they need to start in a different country, and you want to travel your pets to that new location around that, whether it's a job or school, you likely want to plan accordingly. And I also believe this year, Europe or the EU launched some new requirements, especially as it pertains to summer embargo. So maybe Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about that?
About the EU specifically or just in general?
Yeah, I mean, whatever you think would be helpful to the audience. I just know that there was a new EU rule established this summer, so that was a pretty hot topic, no pun intended.
Yeah, let's touch on that just because we do have a lot of clients routing through the EU, whether they're going to the UK via the EU or they're going to Asia, other places through the EU. There's a new rule that popped up that they're now enforcing starting at the beginning of summer, and that is it has to pertain to the date in which the health certificate can be done. So previously, if you're traveling within 5 days of your pet, the health certificate's typically valid for 10 days when going to the EU or transiting through the EU. Now the new rule is if you're not on the exact same flight or flights as your pet, health certificate needs to be done 2 days before. So it is rather limiting in that most vet appointments need to be on a Monday. We all try to fly on a Wednesday and arrive on a Thursday or Friday, depending on your destination. So that is a big change in that a lot of pets are now flying on Wednesdays. So it means there's smaller space for everyone to fly out all on the same day. So just another reason to start the process early so we can go through all that timing with you because it is very specific.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Some other things that may affect your timeline, more generally, vaccination and health certificate windows. I think we've had some prospective pet travelers come to us in the past with, vaccinations they may have already given their pet, but it didn't fall into a required timeline. Am I correct about that, Ryan?
Yeah. For example, again, with the rabies, you could have vaccinated outside of the year. And for a majority of countries, you're going to have to get it boosted. Same with blood work. If a test is outside of a year for most countries, you'll have to get it done. And they do have very specific vaccines for every country. So that's why it's helpful if you start early and we can clearly list out all the vaccines and work with your vet directly on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Cost is also another huge factor. It's a big expense to move abroad in itself, and moving your pet too is another added expense on top of that. So we also have some other really helpful tools for cost planning that you can use. Um, you know, if your move is planned later, it gives you more time to invest in your pet's move. So we can also share that in the chat as well. And then there's also breed and seasonal restrictions, which Ryan touched on a bit, especially as it pertains to new EU rules and summer embargoes. And I believe winter embargoes are also another factor for consideration as well.
Yeah, so summer, winter embargoes, those have to do with temperatures, so extreme heat and extreme cold. It's it's best that, we find a different day to travel if it's going to be a blizzard or if we have extreme heat in the 90s. That's pretty self-explanatory, but it does affect our industry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It affects me too. I not as much of a fan as winter anymore. I'd rather just not go anywhere and stay in a heated blanket.
Right.
Okay, so let's open up the chat. Feel free to ask us anything, drop your questions in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing the presentation temporarily so you can see both of our faces. I'm sure the presentation is not formatted for mobile viewing, unfortunately, so let's kick things off. So we do have an initial question. What makes organizing international pet shipping from the US so complicated?
Well, we kind of touched on that a little bit in the intro, but there's a lot of steps that need to be taken. First, we need to get to know you, get to know the intricacies of your move and your timing and your animal. And then most importantly, vaccines need to be up to date, and it's really dependent on the specific country. Like we talked about for Australia, you want to be planning about 8 months or more ahead. Whereas for the UK, you want to be contacting a pet shipper, I would say, within 5 to 6 weeks, ideally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we also have another question from Viva Quero on Instagram. She's moving her 9-pound Maltipoo to Penang. So we unfortunately do not service Penang, but we could, refer you to, I think Citizen Shipper is a really good resource for finding someone that may be able to help facilitate your move. And go ahead, Ryan.
Oh. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think she's talking about going to Malaysia. We fly directly into Kuala Lumpur, either directly or indirectly, depending on if we're going through Europe. That does have a quarantine, a mandatory 7-day quarantine there. I'm not sure the rules of Penang, but since it's in Malaysia, I would think it would have some sort of quarantine involved. So I believe we have a situation. I don't know if you're the same client, but you're talking to Paul regarding this. So that's an example where we would look into that a bit more, ask our agent coordinator to reach out to our team in Malaysia and see what the options are. Regarding traveling with your pet in cabin, we specialize in cargo, so that would be something you would want to explore with an airline on your own if that is an option. But your dog does seem small enough to go in cabin if they do allow it. A lot of countries, I will say, do not allow a pet to travel in cabin. They want to go through a strict customs process with a dedicated broker. So yeah, to answer your question, we can do a little more diving into Penang, see if there are any routes that we can go via cargo. But again, if you want to try and go in cabin, that would be something you'd work with an airline directly on.
Yeah. Do you have any airline recommendations for
I don't.
her?
I
Okay.
don't, since we do service cargo only,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we don't specialize in that specific city. I couldn't give any. For example, United might be a good option. You'd have to look into that. I know they fly into Singapore, which does have some quarantine regulations. So I would start there. Maybe United would be a good option.
Yeah. Yeah. And another nice hack is to specifically, search in quotations in Google for pet travel to insert where you want to go and quotations too, just so it really specifies your destination for that. So safe travels on your upcoming move, and we hope that your Maltipoo gets there safely. Okay, we just had a question drop in from YouTube. Alan, are there embargoes from JFK to Honolulu and then on to Hilo? I am moving 9 small dogs. Would they be on the same Alaska flight?
Good question. 9 dogs. I thought I had a lot. That's really impressive. So they're not any set embargoes from JFK to Honolulu and then onward to Hilo. Like we talked about, the only embargo would be related to weather. So that would just be something you'd have to pre-plan, either in the spring or fall would be safest when you're traveling with that amount of pets, as to not re-coordinate your whole schedule. If you're traveling on Alaska, it could be Alaska or a Hawaiian Air flight because they merged. So I believe their rules are 3 pets per aircraft. So you'd most likely have to do 3 different transits. Um, Now, that would be a good question for them. They have a great customer support line. Or if you wanted to go through us, we could see if they'd make an exception for all the pets to be on one flight. We can do that if we know their sizes. Or they might just be strict and say 3, and that you might need to plan for 3 separate trips. And I will say, if you're flying in cargo, there's only 1 flight a day from JFK to Honolulu direct, so might have to plan on 3 separate days. Hilo, we should be able to get majority of pets on the same flight. They might have to split it up in 2 depending on what else they have flying that day, but there is a chance they could all fly at the same time to Hilo.
Okay. Would breed impact that at all?
Um, no, breed really shouldn't for going to Hawaii. But I will say that kennel size could be a factor. If they're all small, it should be okay. But they do not take custom kennels, so that would be something if you do have a larger dog and they do need a wooden built custom kennel, you can only fly out of LA.
Okay. And as a follow-up from Alan, they're looking to move in April, I'm assuming 2027. Ryan just mentioned kennels. We do have a kennel calculator, but also when you onboard with Starwood, you receive a nice customer welcome packet that includes a kennel sizing kit as well, so you can measure your dog against that just to make sure that you won't run into any issues at the airport as well.
Right.
Okay, we have another question. I'm hoping to move to Spain in the fall, and I'm not sure I have enough time. So, Ryan, off the top of your head, what does the typical timeline for Spain look like?
I would say for pets, 5 to 6 weeks is really ideal. The more the merrier if you're working with a pet travel company. But what you need to factor in is kennel acclimation, making sure that rabies is done within a year of travel and at least 21 days has has passed since the rabies. So that's something you'd want to factor in straight away. And then we usually try to book flights within 21-day window for Spain. So I think you're in good shape. I would just recommend, starting that process, whether it's finding the right vet, getting rabies done, getting a kennel. I would prioritize those few things first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, question. What if I'm just taking my pet on vacation? That's a good one.
So saying, do I still need to like follow all the rules? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
yeah,
Um,
I'm assuming.
yeah, that would be yes. All the same rules apply, no matter if you're staying for 3 days or 30 years. So you need to follow the same rules.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, I think, it's very destination specific. So
Mhm.
it depends on where you're taking your pet on vacation.
Yeah,
If you want to take your cat to Australia, that's much different than taking your cat to the UK, right? Like
right.
you'd need to plan much farther in ahead. So let's say they're planning a vacation to the UK in September of this year. There's enough time. But if it's Australia, not so sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, question on YouTube again by Michelle Hervo. Should I purchase kennels or do you rent them?
We do not rent kennels, at least for now. We did try that for a period of time, but it's logistically a little difficult. You have to store them in every different hub. And yeah, we want you to have your kennel for quite a while before travel, so that it feels like it becomes your own or your pet's own. So we do only sell kennels for purchase.
Yeah, well, Michelle, I will say, and this is a sneak peek, but we are doing a free kennel raffle
Ooh,
starting 2 weeks from now. So maybe hold off on renting or buying a kennel. You can enter into our drawing to have a chance to win. And it looks like she's going Seattle to Italy. So, Ryan, if you want to speak to Italy-based timelines, that would be
yeah.
helpful.
So at least currently, our routing from Seattle to Italy is on Lufthansa. So there is going to be a stop in Frankfurt. And since you're going to a European city, going back to the intro, we would have to follow the rules that either the client's on the exact same flight, so from Seattle to Frankfurt, Frankfurt to Rome, health certificate's valid for 10 days. If you're not on the same flight, you have to stick with that 2 day window. So if you wanted to pre-plan, it would be a vet on Monday and a flight on Wednesday and likely arrival on a Friday.
Okay. Yeah, Michelle, make sure you submit a quote if you have not already, and we'd be happy to share more information
Yeah.
that way as well. Okay. Is there a way around waiting periods for some countries like Japan?
The only way around what they have is a 180-day wait period after the blood draw. Only way around that is if you're a U.S. military member. They
Mm,
allow you to do the 180-day quarantine on base. So that's the only scenario that it would be different for Japan. Otherwise, the rules are what they are,
yeah.
especially for island countries that aren't exposed to different diseases or rabies. It's for everybody's health. So kind of a, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm.
So this one, what countries have the longest lead time? I'm sure this person is probably in the planning or ideation phase of where they want to move. So, Ryan, do you want to speak to some of those countries that do have a longer wait time?
Yeah, I would say anything that has that built-in wait time after the blood work. So that's going to be Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Taiwan, and Singapore. Those all have between a 3 month to a 6 month time period. I would say Australia, New Zealand, Singapore and Japan are our big ones that we do a lot of business there, and we try to interact with the client about a year, 8 months in advance.
Okay. Another question. What about timelines from US to Singapore?
Yeah, I actually specialize in Asia moves, so I can speak into this quite intelligently, I think. For Singapore, depends on if it's a dog or a cat. They have slightly different vaccine requirements. Um, but for dog or cat, pets all need to be microchipped. A rabies needs to be done sometime after that microchipping and within a year of travel. And then they're very specific with the timeline here. You have to wait at least 28 days after a rabies in order to do the blood test, 28 days or more. And then after the blood test, there is a 90-day or 3-month wait period before the pet can actually travel. So that one is very specific, and we usually ask about, 4 months, 4 to 5 months planning if you haven't done any of those items.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Keep questions coming, guys. Please, drop them in the chat. We do have a couple of more in the queue. Just, more generally, okay, so this person asks, what makes organizing international pet shipping from the US so complicated?
Yeah, we've been touching on this. It's a lot of factors. It's the kennel, it's the rabies, it's customs. I would say majority of countries you need to book with a licensed custom broker. We are a licensed custom broker here in the US, and we work with almost hundreds all around the world. So you typically need a pet shipper to plan that part of it. There are a few countries you can get away without having a customs broker and doing it in cabin. Um, I will say, since we were talking about Singapore, you can fly your pet in cabin to Singapore, but you cannot clear customs on your own. So that's just a bit of a unique situation. Um, but yeah, it's like we've been talking about, it really is country specific. There's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes. So if you're doing it on your own, I think you'll find yourself Googling, using AI for a lot of answers. Do warn you, those are not always correct because they're pulling through many different sources. Um, yeah, it's complicated because it's, the equivalent to your baby, someone you love so much. You want to make sure it's all done right.
Yeah, yeah, and looking at AI overviews isn't always the source of truth. Like Ryan mentioned, it's pulling from outdated sources as well as
Yeah.
newer sources. So there's a lot of conflicting information out there. Whereas, a broker like Starwood is, you're getting the most up to date and accurate information possible to save you a ton of frustration down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is a good one. Can I just hire you when I'm moving in 2 weeks? I know that we've been looking into some expedited timelines, but I don't know that we're at a 2 week period yet.
We've certainly done it before. We just don't feel comfortable because a lot of things can be missed, let alone being able to get on a flight that quickly. I think that's really one of the most challenging things. And we do need to take our time to review all your vaccination work. You need to build in time for your vet to be available for the final health certificate. So I would say 2 weeks is very, very much unfeasible and not really in our comfort zone when we're trying to do everything correctly.
Okay, thank you. And can you just more generally speak about timelines for Thailand?
Sure, Thailand. Um, that is a top destination for a lot of our clients going to Asia. They have a lot of great cities and beaches there in Thailand, so it's a hot spot. But timeline for dogs and cats, I can just go through all the requirements and just talk about time in between. But again, it's a rabies done within the year of travel. Pet needs to be microchipped prior to that. After the rabies, there's at least a 21-day waiting period before pets can travel. Thailand does not have any blood test involved, but it does have a import permit. And all vaccines need to be at least 21 days old before we can even apply for the import permit. So I think that's important to mention, especially if you're on a tight timeline, because the import permit isn't, just immediately back. It takes about 5 days. And then there's a few other vaccines that you need to have if it's a dog, DHPP, which is distemper, hepatitis, parvo, and parainfluenza. So it's usually just done in a 4 combo, one vaccine. And then also leptospirosis is needed. That is a 2-part vaccine in most cases. So you get the first vaccine and then it's boosted about 3 weeks later. So that's another thing you would need to plan with timing for that. So I would say for Thailand, we require about 6 weeks to make sure you're getting those boosted vaccines and we have enough time to apply for the import permit.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question, at what point do you actually book the pet's move? And I'm sure this is on a lot of customers' minds because
Yeah.
typically they want to travel with their pet on the same flight if possible.
Yeah, and that's a question almost every client will ask us because they're trying to plan their own travel, and as you wait, as we know, tickets prices go up. So usually, what I recommend is, if you need to book your ticket, but make sure that it's changeable on the human side in case we can't get the exact flight date you want, whether it's capacity, um, weather, what have you. But for the majority of our airlines we work with, we can book about 14 days in advance. Lufthansa, for example, allows 21. Alaska allows 30 days in advance. British Airways is about 12, same with KLM. So it really is airline specific, but I would say on
Hmm.
average, it's about 2 weeks in advance. And
Okay.
then even then, we don't get a confirmation back right away. So it's not like we're going on the website as humans do and just click whatever flight. We have to go through a long email process. So you're dealing with an actual person looking at all the different flights, what's going to be best for your pet. So usually we get a confirmed flight about 7 to 10 days before travel, which isn't ideal, but that's pet shipping, baby.
Yeah. And I mean, just going off of that, is there a way to try to coordinate the same flight? Is that even possible? Is that something that, you
Yeah.
guys try to strive for?
Um, yeah, it really just depends on the routing. So it gets a little difficult when we're making a rest stop. Say we're going from Seattle to Frankfurt to Italy, because that's the only way the pet can travel. It's going to be difficult for the pet parent to want to be on that same routing because there's a built-in 6 to 12 hour layover.
Mm-hmm.
So it can certainly be done. You just kind of need to commit to it, or leave it in our hands, and we'll try to figure out your timing the best we can with your pet's timing. Direct flights are usually pretty successful. So what we could do is say, and we just had this a couple days ago. Hey, we can put your dog on Lufthansa flight 405 out of JFK to Frankfurt. If you want to try to book that same flight, great. This is usually the flight they'll put the pet on, and then it typically will work out if we kind of give historically what flight they put pets on, because they
Mm-hmm.
do need to be compliant for the pressurization and the temperature control in the cargo space, and not every airline or flight on that same airline has that pet cargo area.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Another question. What's the longest you've worked with a client before their pet actually moves?
Ooh, I would have to go back to our 48 cat move. I
Oh,
think it started out with Adam, who's on our team, quoting her 5 years before she actually ended up to travel. And then it went through different salesperson, different coordinator, and then to me. So I'd say 5 years. But if we're just looking at a normal, two pet move, I've had clients plan 3 years in advance with us, just so, you know, they don't have that fear in the back of their mind. Like, I don't have anyone I can go to if I have this random question.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, people do plan in advance, and um, we do appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We love a good planner.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm just combing through some of the questions we have in the queue. I'm moving to Japan next month. Is that enough time to plan for my cat? So it looks like a one cat move to Japan.
If we're talking 30 days, no, we really need 2 months for that, because outside of just the built-in 180-day wait time and all the blood work, rabies checking, we have to give Japan at least 40 days notice before arrivals. That's their application process. If we don't put it in 40 days or more from the date of arrival, we're not going to get that date. So already at 30 days, it wouldn't be feasible to get the date you would want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Another vacation question in the chat. Do you work with clients who move back and forth for vacations? I know we have several scenarios or stories that relate to that, whether it's for vacation or even work as well. I think we've had clients that have relocated dogs from New York to London and then back again.
Yeah, we certainly do. We've started quoting round trips, so if you do know when you're going to leave and when you plan to come back, we can quote the whole thing at once. We might have to revisit that quote if things change. Um, I have I have a couple of clients that go from the mainland to Hawaii every year, a couple times a year because they're snowbirds. I have one client that I think we're on our ninth trip together, so definitely have
Wow.
return clients.
Yeah, that's cool. And I guess what would be nice about the round trip quoting too is that you can plan a bit farther in advance for those vacations, work trips, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, there's no more questions in the queue right now, so if you have anything left to ask, please drop it in right now. Otherwise, we'll go back to our presentation just to share a bit more about our giveaway that we will be doing after this event ends. Okay, so if you're in the live stream right now, please fill out the form so you can be entered to win one of these 3 exciting prizes: a Starwood pet bandana, a $20 Amazon gift card, or $200 off your pet's move. And we also have a concurrent offer running right now for $50 off a $50 deposit for your pet's move. So very little down, which is really exciting, especially if you're moving a little bit farther out. So it gives you a bit more time to lock in and solidify and start planning your pet's move as well.
Yes. And I'm really excited for the trip planning tool. That's a great idea. I think everyone should take advantage of it and could just help you build out your own timeline too.
Yep, absolutely. We did drop the link for that tool in the chat. So if you want to test it out after this live stream, go ahead and then fill out a quote, and someone from our team will be in touch with you directly if you have any more questions. All right, well, that is it for today. I thank you all of those that have joined, and we will be also sending a on-demand recording of today's live stream for you to view again if you would like. Thank you all so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.